Hi, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Sidelines Unite team call. I'm so excited. Tammy Ray, Regional Vice President, Independent Consultant with Arbonne, and it's October 16, sweetest day here, 2016, and I'm so excited to be together with you. This is one of my favorite times in the whole week, is just to come together as an Arbonne community, and this call is so special because it really just conveys the culture of Arbonne, that we're not here to compete with each other, we're here to complete each other and to pool our strengths together, to grow our teams together strong. And I love the whole idea of the sequoia tree. I know you've heard this, but I just love it so much that the sequoia tree is the tallest tree, and it also lives the longest, but yet it has the shallowest root system. And the reason it can grow so long and so tall is because the roots intertwine together. And so that's what I see this call doing for us. Nobody goes to school for network marketing, so this is where we come to learn. And we get to learn from an amazing leader tonight, and I just can't wait to hear from Ashley Stone. And we are going to let Melinda take it away and introduce Ashley to the team tonight. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Melinda Schwach. I am an executive area manager and a huge fan of Ashley's. Ashley Stone is a regional vice president, and she lives in Kentucky. And so she has a very soft voice, but don't let that fool you, not one bit, because she means business, and she with love and kindness. So a couple of great SoundClouds to go back to after our call tonight to get more of what Ashley is about. She has an amazing call. It's 17,000 to 48,000 in 1 week, and it's just very motivating. So listen to that, you guys. And have you ever heard the Baby Got Back video or seen the YouTube video? You should check that out too, because it's actually called Baby Got Arbonne. She and her husband, Jake, and a couple of other people did that. So it's a lot of fun. So I'm so excited to hear what you have to say tonight, Ashley. Take it away.
Thank you, Melinda. Melinda has a special place in my heart. She's on a coaching call that I do once a week, and she actually just reached out to me over Facebook and wanted to chat, and we chatted, and I just really liked her right away. She's from West Bloomfield, Michigan, and or near there. And what's funny is I do live here in Louisville, Kentucky, but I actually used to live in West Bloomfield, Michigan. So it's such a small world. And anyway, Melinda and I connected. So she's on an area call that I do once a week and have got to know her. So that's pretty, I love that she got to introduce me. That's awesome. Thank you, Melinda. And thank you, Tammy, for having me on the call. It's always a privilege to be asked to chat with another team and to be entrusted with that. So thank you very much. Tammy asked me to just kind of share my story with you guys tonight and to tell you a little bit about how to run your business and take the emotion out of your business. And I think that people ask me to train on this a lot because it's something that I had to learn the hard way. And it's something that I think we all struggle with all of the time in our Arbonne business. So just to tell you a little bit about myself, of course, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky with my husband, Jake, here. And I've actually been in Arbonne for 11 years. So I started Arbonne when I was, I guess I was 22 years old when I signed up to do Arbonne with my friend Cindy Peterson, who's now an executive regional vice president. And she told me about it, and I signed up, of course, like most of us do. You know, I fell in love the very moment I heard about Arbonne. Then I went to the first presentation, and I fell in love with the products, the philosophy, and everything that went along with it. But you know, I think a lot of us don't really know what we're getting ourselves into when we start in Arbonne. And I certainly didn't. I thought, well, I'm going to start selling Arbonne. You know, that's what I thought. I love the products. I'm going to start selling Arbonne. Little did I know I didn't even know what network marketing really was. I didn't know that this was like a true business. And I didn't know all of the personal growth that was going to come along the way in my journey. And I'd love to say that I jumped in and I flew right to the top, but that's not my story. And I actually was a district manager for 7 years. Yeah, you heard that. You heard that correctly. 7 years. I was a district manager. And I actually went to district manager very quickly and started my business, like 2 or 3 months. And then I stayed there for 7 years. And I don't know if any of you guys can relate that have been in Arbonne for a while, but I was definitely like, oh, I was a big talker. Like, I was always that kid that when I wouldn't study that hard in school, but I always still made A's and B's, because if there was an essay question, I could really BS my way through it and still make an A. You know, that's just always been kind of my personality. So that went really well for me with Arbonne, because I would tell everybody, like, when they'd ask, how's your Arbonne business going? They're like, oh, it's awesome. And I'm going to get a Mercedes, and Arbonne's the best thing in the world. And little did they know, I was like, you know, stuck in this same level and really wasn't moving forward. So people would look and they'd be like, I don't know why she hasn't like quit her job yet and she's not in that Mercedes, because she says everything's going really great. And I would go to every meeting, every GTC, never missed one. They were called NTC back then, National Training Conference. I went by myself, me and Cindy, year after year after year, and took notes. I was always looking for like the secret, you know, can you relate? It was always like, I know that there's something they're not telling me. Okay. And I was a really great note taker. I was always looking for the secret. I would get online and I would look at, actually, thankfully, we didn't have what we have today when I first started. So people didn't put their scripts up online and stuff, which I think was actually kind of a blessing, because I was constantly looking at other people's systems, thinking that one was better than the other. And I would jump from one thing to the other, thinking like, oh, this is the reason why I haven't moved forward. So I'm going to jump over here. And I mean, constantly looking left, looking right, instead of looking straight ahead. So a couple years ago, I really got fed up. I'll kind of do the short version of the story, but my family owns a company. I was working there. My dad was wanting me to really step into a place of responsibility there. And he sat me down and was like, honey, you are making emotional decisions. Okay, so this is what I'm going to tie into tonight, because he sat me down and said, you're making an emotional decision about your Arbonne business. And I have learned in business that you cannot run a business based on emotion. You have to run a business based on the facts. And my dad, by the way, is probably the smartest business person, one of the smartest business people that I know. Built a business from the ground up and has turned it into a multi-million-dollar business, started it out of our living room. Very smart businessman. So I really respect what he has to say. So you can imagine, I felt really kind of pained at the heart to hear him tell me that. And he said, you're holding on to this. And he said, I understand that some people have been really successful, but there's probably reasons for that. Maybe it's because they know that, they know a lot of people, they're really influential, or they got in early. He's like, but for whatever reason, it hasn't worked for you and you're holding on based out of emotion and you need to let go. I was like, wow. So I went home and I cried and I talked to my husband, and my husband's like, I don't know why you're not moving forward. You've done everything they've told you to do. And I'm like, I know I've done everything they tell me to do. I'm the most coachable person ever. I've done everything right, and I'm still not moving forward. So I wrote this long email to my entire upline. And actually, I got it out the other day and read it. And me and Kathy Epperson, ERVP Kathy Epperson, we were rolling on the floor in tears, laughing so hard at this email that I sent, because it's just pathetic in how I just went on and on and on about how I wasn't moving forward in my business, and I was doing everything that I was supposed to do, and I just have to make a change or I'm out of here. And for some reason, I don't know why, Executive National Vice President Kathy Epperson, who I had only met on a handful of occasions, reached out to me, and she agreed to start coaching me 20 minutes a week. And really, it wasn't coaching as much as it was accountability. And one of the very first things that she taught me was, it's not, you got to take the emotion out. And what's interesting is my dad was so right. He was so right in what he was saying. He was saying to me, you're making decisions based on emotion and hanging on to this, but it's not working. And interestingly enough, Kathy Epperson said the same thing to me. She said, here you are, you're saying you're in Arbonne and you're so emotional about it, but you're not working. So you're hanging on to this and your emotions are all tied into it, but it's not working what you're doing. She said, how many months out of these 7 years that you say you've been in Arbonne have you actually followed the system? And the system is getting in front of 30 new people a month, right? And our team always said 6 to 8 group presentations in a month would get you in front of that amount of people, or the equivalent one-on-ones. And she said, okay, how many months out of those 7 years did you actually do that? And I'm like, well, maybe 6. Really? I mean, if I was being honest, maybe 6 months out of the 7 years did I actually do that. And I'm like, but I would have if I could have gotten anybody to book for me. You ever said that? Well, I would do all the parties in the world if I could get anybody to say yes, but nobody will say yes to me. And she's like, that's not what I asked. I asked how many months you actually did it. And I said, okay, 6. So she said, you've been in Arbonne for 6 months. You cannot say you've had an Arbonne business for 7 years because you have not had an Arbonne business for 7 years. You maybe had an Arbonne business for 6 months, and even that is iffy because it wasn't consistent. It wasn't 6 consecutive months. So I would build my business, which I now use that term very lightly because I'd like to say hobby is really what the truth of it was. I had this Arbonne hobby, and it was a roller coaster constantly. So 1 month I would do like 12 presentations. Okay, I'd go gangbusters, and I would have a really full calendar, and I'd sponsor somebody. And 3 times over the years, I qualified for area manager, by the way, 3 times. So I'd qualify area manager, and I'd get somebody, and I'd be like, yes, I got a live body. And I would work with them, and then they would quit. And I would sink into an Arbonne depression. Okay, so for the next 3 months, I'd be like, I did everything they told me to do. It didn't work. Everybody's quitting. I can't get anybody to work. And I would hang on to those people, even though they had joined the witness protection. They were hiding from me and changing their phone numbers to get away from me. And I was like, but they're a business builder, when they weren't, right? Can anybody relate to that? So I was hanging on to this. It was constantly up, down, up, down. And I mean, who wants to join that? First of all, we think we're being so clever in the way that we portray ourselves to the outside world and to our prospects. We think that if we talk big, they won't really know. We can. So I thought that I was really portraying myself as this great leader, but people aren't stupid, right? They can see the roller coaster, and nobody wants to join that. Nobody wants to get on a roller coaster. People's lives already are roller coasters, right? We already are stressed out enough with our everyday lives. Why does anybody want to invest in that? And really, what's the first thing that people are investing in when you talk to them? They're you, right? They first are looking at you before the products, before anything else. So I had to change, and I decided that there was going to be no more excuses. I told Kathy I'd do whatever she told me to do for 3 months, and that would be all in. If she told me to jump, I'd say how high. And I knew better than to call her and say, I didn't do anything last week. One time I said that, and she hung up on me. If anybody's ever met Kathy Epperson, she doesn't mess around. So that's where I get it from. So, I knew better. So I wasn't going to. I really respected her time, and I thought if she's willing to give me 20 minutes a week, I'm going to take it. I'm going to run with this, and I'm going to be held accountable. So I did. And that first month, I want to tell you, I went from I was a struggling district manager, and that month I had done, I want to say $1,800 in QV. Okay, it was in December, and I didn't sponsor anyone. 0, not a preferred client, not a consultant, nobody. 1,800. If you're brand new, you might be thinking, well, that's not bad. Well, if you've been in Arbonne for 7 years and you have $1,800 in QV and no sponsoring, that is not good, right? It was all reorders. I mean, my mom and grandma ordered enough to keep my district, so I never lost my district, but that was all it was. So and I didn't do any activity that month, by the way. Not really, because I had fooled myself into thinking I was doing activity, but I was like, calling people for reorders. I was like dropping samples. I was making cute little flyers and distracting myself from real activity. And Kathy let me know real quick, that's not activity. Okay. Calling and seeing people, that's activity. So in 1 month to the next, I went from $1,800 to qualifying area manager the next month. You know what changed? The system didn't change. The products didn't change. We didn't have a new catalog out. Nothing changed other than the fact that I followed the system for the first time ever. For the first time ever, I got on the phone and I decided that I was going to call until I got my calendar full. Kathy told me get 8 presentations on your books, and she told me, and actually, you know what? If you want 8 to stick, you better book 12. So I did. I called every single person. And guys, I know all the excuses you're going to give me. Well, but I've already called everybody. Who else am I going to call? Because I had them all. I had been, remember, 7 years. You think I hadn't called all those people a million times before, over and over and over again? Because I never got outside of my network. So, of course, they got called a lot. Excuse me. So I called them again. Okay. And I let people know that I was serious this time and that I needed them to do me a favor, and I gave away a lot of product. And I decided that I was going to give away a lot of product. I was going to do whatever it took to get in front of people. You know what's crazy is that when people can see that you're serious and you're willing to do whatever it takes, that is so attractive to other people. And all of a sudden, people were flocking into my business. It was insane. I had known most of them before, but I was walking differently. I was talking differently because I wasn't making any excuses. I qualified area manager. The next month, I dipped down a little bit and I went back into all my old patterns. So I went back and I said to Kathy, oh my goodness, I finished the month. I didn't complete area, and I finished the month at like 7,000. And I was so devastated. I'm like, so-and-so quit, blah, blah, blah. And she said, stop it. You are moving forward. Sometimes things are just building months. You have to focus on growth. This business is not built in 30 days. It takes at least 90 days of consistent activity to see the fruits of your labor. Most people will never give it 90 days. If you're on this call, have you actually followed the system for 90 days consecutively? Ever? I would venture to say a lot of you haven't, right? And don't be ashamed of that. I hadn't. It took me 7 years to do it. Because what happens is we do it and then we get something happens and it's like, oh, we go back into that slump again, right? Because our emotions get involved and we get upset because somebody quits, and then we don't feel like picking up the phone and we don't do it, or life happens and we get distracted. and you won't ever really see all the good things that could happen if you just did it for 90 days straight. So I reprogrammed myself really quickly because she was like, stop it, get back on track, stay focused. And I did. The next month I completed area manager. Went 3,000 over what I needed to complete area. The very first month that I was an area manager, I bonused in my area, hit 20,000, earned a trip to Punta Cana. Laser focused, just focused on continuing to build, and then went on to region, of course, and headed towards nation now. But listen, people say to me all the time, and this is where I was 7 years ago, I went back to saying, well, I remember telling Kathy, I just don't feel like it. I just don't want to pick up the phone. I don't want to do all these things. And you know what? Who does? Who wants to pick up the phone? I had somebody, one of my district managers called me the other day and told me she had quit. so funny when people tell you they've quit. It's like, we don't know that. Like, you haven't been doing anything for months, and now she's officially telling me she quit, you know. And it's not funny really that she quit. But what is funny is I said, why? You know, what changed? You had all these great goals, and she's really was doing great. So what happened? And she said, well, I just discovered that I don't like the process of having to pick up the phone and call people. I just don't enjoy that. And I thought, how silly, because does anybody on this call right now just really love picking up the phone and asking people to book with them or meet with them? Anybody? Anybody just loves that? No? Okay, maybe some of you, one person if you're kind of weird, you know, but no, you didn't love that. And if you do love it now, it's probably because you got to that point where you learned to love it, but you didn't at first. But here's the thing. If you have how many of you have a regular job, like a job? How many of you every day just really feel like getting out of bed when the alarm clock goes off? How many of you really feel like sitting in traffic on your way to work and putting up with your boss and asking when you can take your lunch break? Do you just love that all the time? Now, I'm not saying there's not aspects of your job that you don't love, because maybe you do, but do you love it all the time? No. So why don't you quit? I mean, why don't you just not go in tomorrow if you don't enjoy it and you hate it? Well, Dr. Phil, who I think is pretty smart, I love Dr. Phil, says that you don't do anything in life unless you get a payoff. That's how we're wired. Anything we do, it's because we have a payoff. So what's your payoff? Well, you go to work not because probably you love going to work every day, but because of the payoff, right? And really, what's that boil down to? Well, maybe you want to support yourself. You want to support your family. You do it because you have to have that money for the things that you care about. Okay? If anybody on the call has kids, do you love every morning getting out of bed and having to make breakfast before you get the kids off to school, or changing dirty diapers? You know, do you love doing all of those things, or dealing with a temper tantrum and staying calm? No, you don't love that. So why don't you just not do it tomorrow? Why don't you just tomorrow morning just say, I'm not going to fix you breakfast. I don't feel like it. I'm tired. I'm not going to change your diaper. And I'm not going to talk to you today because you're getting on my nerves. Why don't you do it? Okay, people will say, well, I can't do that. Why? You could. There's people out there that do, right? Let's face it. There's bad parents out there that do say, I'm not feeding you breakfast this morning. But you don't do that because you love your kids, right? You love them, and no matter how you feel in the morning, you get up and you take care of them, right? No matter how you feel tomorrow morning, if you have a regular job, you're going to go to work. So what's the difference between those things and your Arbonne business? Well, maybe you don't know what the payoff is. Because if you really knew what the payoff was, nothing would stop you from working this Arbonne business that you have in your hands. If you really knew what the payoff was. And you can't even imagine until you've gotten to that point what the payoff is. It touches so much in your life and in the lives of other people that I wake up in the morning now and I think, how dare I not pick up the phone and call this person? Because Arbonne has changed my life. It has changed my life. And you know, I don't always feel like picking up the phone. I don't always feel like going out and doing the presentations or getting on a Zoom with my team in Australia in the middle of the night or whatever it might be. But you know what I do enjoy? I enjoy the payoff. I enjoy the fact that I was able to quit my corporate job. I enjoy the fact that I don't set an alarm clock. I hate mornings. Melinda will tell you our calls at Tuesday at 9 a.m. I set my alarm for 8:50. No joke. It goes off at 8:50 and I go, hello, because I hate mornings, but I'll do that. And you know, I enjoy that I've been able to travel the world because of Arbonne. I enjoy the relationships that I've built. And you know what is the biggest payoff is that people now are telling me, because you asked me to take a look at this, you've changed my life. So I now see the moms on my team coming home to their babies. I now see one of my area managers, Rebecca Perut, busiest person I've ever met in my entire life. She's now been able to go down to 2 days a week, and she's able to coach her kids' soccer team or cross-country team and do all the things that she wants to do. Okay, I see Pippa Peterson, one of my area managers in Australia, just quit her teaching job. Not because she didn't love teaching, but because she had a 2-hour commute every day to that job. And it was draining her. And she says, you know what, I can teach people in Arbonne. And she's passionate about it. And because of her Arbonne business, she's been able to do that. So if you don't know what your payoff is, you got to know. You got to know why you're doing this. And sometimes I'll be real honest, I struggled with my why. We'd hear that all the time. What's your why? That was really hard for me because I was really comfortable in my life, honestly. I made good money. And I worked for my parents. It wasn't hard. You know, I was kind of spoiled, to be honest. My parents let me come and go as I pleased. I could work from home. I could do whatever I wanted to do. I made good money. And my mom said, honey, if you want a Mercedes, I'll just buy you a Mercedes. Yeah, she said that. She's kind of a brat. So, not really. But she's not really a brat. She's lovely. But that's my point. I was kind of comfortable in my life. So to say like, well, I really needed the money. I didn't really need the money. I didn't really need the time. I had time. I had all of these things. So I had to really figure out what it was that drove me forward. And you know what I finally figured out for me? What kept me going in Arbonne was the feeling that I was accomplishing something for myself. The feeling that I was doing this. And you know what? I am so proud of me. Because how many people would have quit, you know, after 7 years as a district manager? I see people go district manager and they quit their next month all the time. And it just baffles me. So if nothing else, the personal development, the person that I am today is not the person I was before Arbonne. And if the paycheck didn't come with it, I think I'd still do Arbonne because it's been so life-changing to me. That's the payoff, is the self-development that this has given me. And also just the lifestyle that comes along with it. You know, so many times we say we have to look at things like the cup is half full or do you see the cup half empty? And I love what ERVP Jill Bush says. She says the cup isn't half full and it's not half empty. It's refillable. It's refillable at all times. And every day in our Arbonne business, we have to refill ourselves. You wouldn't believe the amount of SoundClouds and Learn and Burns I listen to. I mean, there's probably very few SoundClouds I haven't heard because I listen to them so constantly in my everyday life because I know that that's really important to me. And I know that it's important to keep my cup refilled all the time. And there's a piece of paper I have, it's all over my house, but I have the quote that says, no matter how you feel, get up, dress up, and fight for your dreams. Because there's so many days that I don't feel like doing Arbonne. I don't feel like doing it, but I do it anyway because it's changing my life and it's changing the lives of others. And you know what? When you just look at this as it's a numbers game, take the emotion out of it. Go get in front of 30 people in a month. Can you do that? Get in front of 30 people in a 30-day time span and tell the whole story to them. Okay, so I mean that by the end of it, you can identify whether they are interested in the business, interested in the products, or going to become a preferred client or host for you. Okay, so they came to a presentation, they went to a DA, or you actually sat with them and showed them the whole story in a one-on-one. You didn't just drop them a sample. You told them the whole story. 30 people. And next time you start getting emotional about your business, I want you to take out a piece of paper and just write 1 through 30. And I want you to just look at your number. And that's what I started doing in my business is I started looking and being like, well, why am I emotional? I've only talked to 5 people. No wonder I'm sitting at 500. No wonder. Why would I expect anything else? I've only talked to 5 people this month. I felt like I was really working. I felt like I was doing a lot more, but I really haven't. It's a reality check. So when people come to me and they say, oh, I'm just not moving forward in my business, I'm so stuck, I say, what's your number? How many people did you share the Arbonne story with last week? And you know what? Most of the time they tell me, no one. One person, 2 people. People say, I had a terrible month last month. Well, why? How many people did you share the Arbonne story with? 3? Oh, well, I can't believe you got a $500 paycheck for that. That's pretty incredible. You talked to 3 people and they gave you $500. That's a pretty great payoff, right? So listen, laugh at yourself, but take the emotion out of it. Just get real with yourself and say, oh, I haven't talked to enough people yet. Skill comes along the way. You'll learn. You'll get better. You'll get better at closing. You'll get better at all of that. But, you know, we are like doctors. We practice for a living. And most of us are just not in front of enough people. One of my favorite books is Dare to Dream, Work to Win by Tom Barrett. And Tom says, in this business, you have to log your hours like pilots do. So I was going around telling people that I was in Arbonne for 7 years. And I'll never forget, I was sitting with somebody who I really wanted on my team, and a friend of mine, family friend, smart businessman, and he said to me, no offense, but if this works so well, why have you been in this for 7 years and you're just at this first level? And I was so offended that he had said that to me. I was like, I didn't know what to say. I was embarrassed. But you know what? It was a legitimate question, right? Because I was sitting here telling him that I had been in Arbonne for 7 years. When really what I should have said to him is, I've had a hobby for this last 7 years. And that's what I started telling people. When people ask me now, how long have you been in Arbonne? I say, well, I signed up 11 years ago, but for the first 7 years, I just hobbied around in it. But 4 years ago, I decided to build a business. And that's the truth. It's the absolute truth. And people respect that. And I say I sold to my mom and my grandma for 7 years. That's the truth of it. But Tom Barrett says you have to take a look and, you know, when you ask, hey, how long have you been a pilot? They don't say 7 years. They say, well, I have 1,200 hours. And that's how they log how their skill level is by how many hours they've actually had in the air. And that's really what you should do in network marketing. How long have you had an Arbonne business? Well, go back and count the amount of months that you got in front of 30 new people. And if the answer is, I've never gotten in front of 30 people in a month, guess what? Your Arbonne business starts today. And that's okay. We don't blame or shame ourselves. You can't change the past. Okay? So this isn't to like depress you and be like, man, I suck. No, you don't have to feel that way. I mean, I did it for 7 years. It's just a reality check, right? Say, okay, I mean, do you want to get on the plane with somebody who has only been, you say, how long have you been a pilot? And they say, well, I've technically been a pilot for 7 years, but I've really only flown about 12 hours. But I've had my pilot's license for 7 years. How comfortable would you be getting on that plane? Wouldn't you rather him just be honest and say, well, I've had my pilot's license for 7 years, but I've only flown 12 hours. Okay? Just be honest with yourself. So many times we want to hang on to like people in our business because, oh, they're all we've got. Well, go find someone new. If you let go of that person, if they're not really a business builder, it frees your mind to go find somebody new. It's easier to give birth than raise the dead. That's what Linda Parker always says. And it's so true. Just get yourself in activity and go find like-minded people. Don't hang on to stuff based on emotion. It's funny, right after my dad had said that to me and I got serious about the business, I went to GTC, and I wish I could remember who it was that said it. One of the MVPs said, so many times we say, I'm a lifer. But she said, but don't give yourself a life sentence. And I thought that was really interesting that she said that. And what she meant by that was, don't do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. That's the definition of insanity, right? So if you're not moving forward in your business, there is a reason. There is a reason. And usually 99% of the time, it's a simple answer. It's that you're not getting in front of enough people. And you can say to yourself all the reasons why you're not getting in front of enough people, But I want you to think about taking 100% responsibility for the good and the bad that happens in your business. And I've learned that it's really cool to do that, because you know what? I always hated the aspect of this business that, well, I can't rely on other people. I always hated that. I felt out of control all of the time. Now I take 100% responsibility at all times for my business. If somebody quits in my business and I have a dip, whose fault is that? Mine. Because what could I have done? I could have went out and found somebody else in the meantime, instead of just being depressed that they quit. It's always me. I take responsibility. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. It's up to me. It's not up to my team. It's not up to my upline. It's not up to Arbonne. It's up to me. Take responsibility and move forward, and take the emotion out of it, and everything will change for you. I'm telling you, if you just take responsibility and make a list 1 through 30, and your only job, don't overthink it. Your only job is to tell the story to 30 new people every month. Do that for 90 days straight. And if you're not in qual for region, or at least promoted to area manager in that time, come hunt me down and tell me I lied to you. But you know what? In all my team, the only person on my team who has done that, the one person out of my entire team for 90 days straight has actually gotten in front of 30 new people. And you know what? She's going to qualify region this month or next month. She's the only person who's done it. Most people won't do it. Most people say, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then they get about 5 people in, and then it fizzles out, right? And all the other excuses come back. I'm just challenging you. Don't let that happen. And also don't say to yourself, well, you know what? I'm going to start my 30 people on November 1st. No, you've already lost. Doesn't work that way. You have to start it now. You have to start it now, because there's always going to be another next month. There's always going to be a tomorrow. There's always going to be a next week. There's only one now. And if you really want this, you have to have a sense of urgency, and you have to do it now. Because wherever you want to end, but at the end of the year, starts with tonight. You can't pick up your business 2 weeks from now and say, well, I really want to be an area manager by the end of the year, or I really want to be a regional vice president, so I'm going to really hit it hard in November and December. It doesn't work that way. You have to start today building that, because sometimes the things you do today, you're not going to see the fruits of until 3 months from now. You're planting seeds over and over again, but you have to keep going. So I'm sorry I've talked so long. Tammy, if there's anything else or you have any questions, but I hope that's helpful. And I'll just talk all night, so I'm going to hand it back to you.
Oh my goodness. I told Ashley her gift is just speaking straight. I'm like, you can just give us a good, It was awesome, Ashley. Thank you. I'm just cracking up. I had no idea how similar our stories are. I was a district manager for 8 years. And I was in qual for area 3 times. And I got a lecture from my dad saying it hasn't worked. Why are you doing this? And I went to all the meetings too. And I was just thinking about what you said, why did I keep coming back and doing it? I think just coming to the meetings honestly filled me with hope. I had hope inside that someday this would work for me, and it tapped me on the shoulder for so long. I finally just decided, and you are right, we have not officially started our business until we've committed to the system. So we can kind of take that out of our vocabulary. When people say, how long have you been in Arbonne? I'll say, well, I used the products since 2003. I committed to my business in 2013. That's how I tell people, because I was hobbying before. So let's just take that off, because you were right. That's not attractive to people to say, oh, I've been in Arbonne for 12 years. And, here I am still at the same place, So I love that. And also, one of my favorite questions to ask people is, what are your excuses costing you? Really, what are our excuses costing us, costing our families? You think about it, our excuse, whatever is holding us back from following the system, whether it be I don't have time, or I have kids at home, or, whatever is holding you back, that very same excuse fuels another person to success. So it's all in the perspective.
Yeah, you know what, Tammy, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was going to say, one thing I used to say all the time was that I was too young. Nobody took me seriously because I was so young and I didn't have any influence with people. Why would they listen to me about a business? I was in my 20s. And I'll never forget, I had finally done it, and I promoted to regional vice president, and I had told my story at the, I think it was an Impact or something. And this woman came up to me afterwards and she said to me, I wish I could really build my Arbonne business, but I'm so old. I'm not young and beautiful like you. And I started laughing. I said, I told myself I was too young, and you're telling yourself you're too old. Like, we make up all these reasons in our own mind, and it's just an excuse. Just like you said.
Love it. Love it. So I'd love to open up. Does anyone have questions for Ashley? This has been fantastic. There's no way I'm going to be able to go to sleep tonight. I'm so energized. Thank you. Thank you for just being honest. You're so right. We all just need to be honest. Hi, Lisa.
Hi. Well, I have to say, Ashley, you were awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tammy, for inviting Ashley to speak. I've been texting some of my not business builders, people that are sitting on their asses doing nothing. Just telling them like these one-liners of stuff. But I love what you said, honestly, about I have like a love-hate relationship with some of my consultants because they're near and dear to my heart because they're my friends. And I have greater vision for them than they have for themselves right now. And you're so right. It's like I just need to like love them where they're at, let them do their own thing, but go out and find somebody else and quit spinning my wheels with them, and really get committed to talking to the amount of people that I need to talk to every month. I'm not even close to where I need to be, and I know how to do this business, and I just need to do it and stop the excuses.
Mm-hmm. Let them go, let them go. And the thing is, when you let it go, it is so freeing to them and to you. The first time, actually, and I had to learn this really along the way, but I really used to get really irritated with my team. And that's a really icky place to be at and they can feel it. And I really feel bad. I went back and apologized to my team actually years later, because I'll never forget the first time I went I qualified region. I qualified twice before I completed, by the way. Qualified region, and I remember just being really irritated with my team that they weren't stepping into that leadership place. They weren't, and I took it personally. Like, they didn't love me enough to do that and to help me. Like, when I was in qual for region and I expected them to like step up and put their arms around me and like say, let's do this as a team, they stuck their heads in the sand and they went away. And I took that so personally. It hurt my feelings. I thought, they don't care about me. They don't love me. They don't appreciate me. And you know what it was? I was putting so much pressure on them that they were running scared for their lives. They were literally, you know how a lot of people, when they get overwhelmed, they will run. And it wasn't that they didn't love me and they didn't care about me. It's that they were so afraid to disappoint me. And I was making them feel like I was disappointed in them all the time. And who wants that? We come to Arbonne because we want to be uplifted and we want to be like appreciated, because we get enough disappointment in our everyday lives. Like, our boss at your normal job, we're not appreciated. People feel like losers all the time. And if they come to Arbonne and you make them feel like a loser, and I'm not saying you're doing that, Lisa, I'm saying that's what I was doing. But you know what?
I probably am.
But you just move on. If you're ever at a place where you're frustrated with your team, that's on you. That's not on them, because you are calling somebody a team who's not a team. If somebody's not doing $2,500 a month in your business, they're not a business builder. Okay? They might have potential to be a business builder. So you could certainly talk to them and say, do you really want this? I can partner with you and show you how to be a business builder. But if they're under 2,500 consistently in your business, they're not a business builder. So you just move on and you go find new people and you be the best example. Because if you're doing it, and trust me, your team will look at you and be like, you go book 8 parties. I remember thinking that about my upline who wasn't really working for a while. When she would call me and say, well, just book 8 parties. I'd be like, show me your calendar, heifer. You don't have 8 parties on your books. And she didn't, and neither did I. So I wasn't going to listen to her. So you just go and I know it's so terrible. I love her now. I tell her that now. But go and you get your own calendar full. I know I did say heifer. That's my Linda Parker speak. And you just go and I just love that Linda I call her Linda Heifer. Linda, what's her name? Linda Parker calls everybody heifers. So you just go and you do the do. You get your calendar full. You get in front of enough people, and people that want to be there will be attracted to that. And you know what? I have hundreds of people in my business who are discount consultants, and I love them for that. You know that out of my volume every month, almost $10,000 of my volume every month is my discount consultants. Woo. So that's the power of the Arbonne products. People will come in, and 99% of people that come in will be discount consultants. And I love my discount consultants, because they'll put in $500 orders here, $1,000 orders here. They dabble. They have an Arbonne hobby. And I don't write them off, because I know that I was that person for 7 years, and you never know when that person's going to rise up. But you know what? My upline was not waiting on me. They were not calling me and trying to revive me. You know, if I ever called them, they helped me. They didn't make me feel like a loser, but they weren't waiting on me. And had they waited on me, they wouldn't have gone on to promote to Nation and everything else. So just let go of people. And if they want it, they'll want it. But you know what? When you let go of them and you just love them where they're at, they're going to do a sigh of relief too. They will appreciate that for you. And I've had people now come to me and say, thank you for always just loving me where I'm at. Thanks for that. Thanks for not. And I'm thankful to my upline that they didn't be like, they never wrote me off. But I'm also thankful they weren't calling me every day when I wasn't ready for it. You know, so just let them go. Go find new people. Go build a team, and some will come back around, some won't. But you'll attract the people who want to be there. This is a volunteer army.
Yeah, and Ashley's letting you off the hook. We say 40 faces a month, so.
Oh, well then do 40. Do what your upline says.
Well, 30 or 40, it's probably not happening. So do 30 then. Do something. Yeah. and honestly, it's so fun, you guys. The best gift of this business is sitting with people and seeing them light up, because they have hope. They've been looking for something like this. Go find those people who are looking for what we have, and I promise you they're out there. I just talked to 2 right before this call. It's so exciting just to, hear and see people light up. So get addicted to that feeling, and it doesn't even matter who the bench warmers are. You know what I mean? It's like, because you're so excited with the people that are lighting up and calling you. I'm all excited. Can you tell? So who else has a question for Ashley? Did you want to say something, Kristen?
Oh, I was just going to say thank you. And I just put in the comments, I'm reading the 10 times rule right now. I don't know if you guys have read that, but it just seems so perfectly in sync with everything she said tonight. And it was such a great call. Thank you, Ashley.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to write that down. 10
No,
times.
me too.
Yeah.
It looks like this.
10 times rule. Perfect. Thank you.
It's by Grant Cardone, or Cardone. I don't know how you say it.
Perfect.
It just goes along with the Nation meeting we just had too, Tammy. The massive momentum, massive activity. That's exactly what it talks about. People underestimate everything it takes to build a business, and just what Ashley was saying. People are thinking, oh, I talked to 5 people this month, and she's like, well, you didn't talk to 30, so why are you so upset? So that's what the book goes along with too. It's really great.
Great. Thank you. We love books. Christine, did you have a question?
No, I just wanted to say, Ashley, I love you.
Oh, thank you. I love you.
I've been following you since I started Arbonne, and you are amazing. And you know what, girlfriend, you just kicked me in the pants, so I'm ready to go. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, you're so sweet. It's so funny that people tell me that, because I was really, like I said, I was just, I just want you to know before I go, if you're on the call tonight and you're thinking, crap, to her standards, I'm not a business builder. Okay, that might be some of you on the call. If I said, if you're not doing $2,500 a month consistently, you're not a business builder. Or if you're going to get off the phone and you think, well, shoot, I've been in this business for years. Now I'm kind of embarrassed that I've been at the same level for a long time or haven't moved forward. Just let go of that. Don't be ashamed of your story, because you know what's funny is there's more people out there like me than there are like Debbie Neal. And nothing against Debbie Neal, because goodness, I'd trade shoes with her any day. Literally would take her shoes, but also would take her paycheck. And I wish that I would have gotten it right off the bat like she had, right? I mean, she's incredible. But there's a lot of people like me who don't get it right off the bat, and it takes us some time. And this is a business. And you just don't move forward and know that you can change that at any time. And you can, but don't lie to yourself either and say that you have a business when you don't have a business. Just call a spade and move forward and know that, like, you can do this. You don't have, I mean, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And you just move, if Tammy can do it, anybody can do it. That goes for any of us. You just make the decision. But don't get off the call and be like, well, I guess I'm a loser or whatever, because that's the opposite of how we ever want you to feel. If you've ever shared this Arbonne story with anyone, you know what to do to become a national vice president. That's all it is. You just do it more, and you go out and you do that, and you take responsibility for it. But don't stay in the same spot over and over again. But your journey will inspire other people. So I'm proud of the fact, and like Tammy, like, awesome, sister, that you didn't give up. Like, I feel so much solidarity with people like you that tell me, like, I've been in 11 years too, and you know what? We carry the experience. I've done everything wrong in this business, so I can tell you what not to do. And also, you know, I was around for the Rita Davenport days and the Bob Henry, and we carry the culture forward. So I'm really proud of that. So wherever you're at in this business, just be proud of your own journey, and don't compare yourselves to others. But at the same time, know that it's all up to you. And if you want to have what others, you know, have achieved, you have to compare apples to apples. I heard Debbie Neal say that one time on a call. She said, people look at me and say, well, she went nation in 4 months. Well, you know, she talked to 100 people in like her first 72 hours of starting the business. I'm telling you, 30 a month. She had 100 conversations in 72 hours. So if you want what Debbie Neal has, you have to be willing to do what Debbie Neal did. And so many of us, we look from an outside and say, well, she must have just been really lucky. She knew all these people. No, she did what most of us would never do, to have it in a faster than any of us did. So you have to look at the journey and what people have been through if you're going to compare. And compare the flight hours, log your time. And when you put your time in, you'll get there too. So I just wanted to, I'm so sorry. I'm such a talker. I'm going to put my invisible duct tape over my mouth now and be quiet.
I love this. Thank you. That was the perfect note to end on. And it's so true what you said. If we really knew what the payoff is in Arbonne, if we were all in, we would all be all in. So think about that. If you feel like you're stuck right now, have you really considered what your excuses are costing you and what it would really feel like to be all in? And you guys, it's so worth it. I feel like I'm just starting my business even at Region. It's like I keep learning, you know, it's like I've done some of the, you know, flight hours, and now I'm refining, and it's getting really fun. Man, it's so much fun to just, you know, meet people right where they are and help people, give them that hope and help light them up, and, you know, give them more options for their life. You guys, it's amazing. This business is worth it. It's so much bigger than we can ever imagine. So just log your flight hours, be all in. Thank you so much for joining us. And we would just appreciate and adore you, Ashley. You have a huge fan club in Michigan. Love you so much.
For having me, guys.
So thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Tammy.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you so much.